The Village Rose and the City of Shadows. Once upon a time, in the heart of the vast savannah, there lived a girl named MALAIKA. She was known as the Village Rose, for her beauty was unmatched, skin as radiant as the evening sun, eyes as deep as the rivers, and hair that flowed like the whispering winds. But beyond her beauty, she had a heart pure as the morning dew, always kind and respectful to the elders. One day, a wealthy merchant from the city visited her village. He was captivated by MALAIKA's charm and intelligence. "Come with me," he said. "The city holds wonders beyond your imagination. You will wear fine clothes, eat sweet fruits, and see buildings that touch the sky." MALAIKA's parents hesitated, for they feared the city's unknown ways, but MALAIKA, eager to explore a world beyond her village, agreed. So, she left behind her home, carrying only a bundle of clothes and a heart full of dreams, the city's temptations. When MALAIKA arrived in the city, her eyes widened at the sights, the glowing lanterns, the towering buildings, and the endless markets. She was given fine dresses and golden bracelets that jingled like birds singing at dawn. Everywhere she went, people admired her beauty. But soon, MALAIKA realized the city was not as kind as she had imagined. The merchant who had promised her a grand life now treated her like a possession. "You are mine now," he said. "You will dance at my feasts, smile for my guests, and obey my every word." MALAIKA felt trapped. The city that once seemed magical now felt like a golden cage. She longed for the smell of the village earth after the rains, the songs of the elders, and the laughter of her childhood friends. The wisdom of the old woman. One evening, as she wandered through the streets in sorrow, she met an old woman selling clay pots. Seeing MALAIKA's sadness, the old woman said, "My child, beauty alone cannot bring happiness. A bird may fly high, but if it forgets its nest, it will have nowhere to rest." MALAIKA understood the woman's words. That night, she made a decision. She would return to her village. The journey home. With only the clothes on her back, she slipped away from the merchant's house and walked for days through forests and rivers until she reached her village. The moment she arrived, the people welcomed her with open arms. "Our village rose has returned," they sang. From that day on, MALAIKA lived happily among her people, using her wisdom to teach the young girls that true beauty is not in gold or fine clothes, but in the kindness of one's heart and the low. The return of the village rose. MALAIKA had returned to her village, wiser than before. The elders welcomed her home with songs and warm embraces, and the young girls gathered around, eager to hear her stories of the great city. But as she looked into their curious eyes, she did not speak of golden bracelets or towering buildings. Instead, she told them of the loneliness she felt, of the empty promises, and of how true happiness could not be bought with riches. Her words spread across the village like the morning sun, touching every hut and every heart. The chief, a wise old man with eyes that had seen many seasons, called her to the council one evening. "MALAIKA," he said, "your journey has given you wisdom. You have seen the ways of the outside world, yet your heart remains true to your home. What do you wish to do with your life now?" MALAIKA thought for a moment before answering. "I wish to help the girls of our village learn skills beyond beauty, wisdom, strength, and knowledge, so that they may never be deceived by false promises as I once was." The council nodded in agreement. "Then let it be so," the chief declared. "The School of Strength and Wisdom." With the support of the village, MALAIKA built a small hut, where young girls could gather to learn not only the traditions of their ancestors, but also new ways of thinking. She taught them how to weave strong baskets, how to read and write, and how to trade fairly in the markets. Word of MALAIKA's school spread far and wide, and soon people from neighboring villages came to learn from the village rose. Even elders came to seek her counsel, realizing that though she was young, her journey had given her the wisdom of many lifetimes. But not everyone was pleased with Nia's growing influence. The merchant who had once taken her to the city heard of her success and was filled with rage. "She was supposed to be mine," he hissed. "I will not let her outshine me." The Merchant's Revenge. One night, the merchant arrived in the village with his guards. He stood before the council and accused Malaika of stealing his wealth. "She ran away from my home, taking my riches with her," he lied. "She belongs to me, and I have come to take her back." Gasps spread through the village like wildfire. The elders looked to Malaika, who stood tall and fearless. "I took nothing but my dignity," she said, "and I will not let lies darken the truth." The chief raised his hand for silence. "We do not settle disputes with words alone," he said. "We will call upon the spirits of justice." A sacred trial was held before the great baobab tree, where the village's ancestors were believed to watch over their people. The elders placed a calabash of truth water before Nia and the merchant. "If you speak the truth," the elder priestess said, "drink, and the ancestors will protect you. If you lie, they will curse you." Malaika took the calabash and drank without hesitation. The people watched, and nothing happened. Her skin remained smooth, her breath steady, a sign that she had spoken only truth. The merchant, sweating under the eyes of the villagers, hesitated but dared not refuse. He drank, and within moments his legs gave way beneath him. He clutched his throat, gasping for breath as his own lies burned within him. The elders shook their heads. "The ancestors have spoken," the chief declared. "Leave this village and never return." Shamed, the merchant fled into the night, never to be seen again. The village rose blooms forever. Peace returned to the village, and Malaika's school continued to grow. Girls became strong traders, healers, and leaders. And as the years passed, the legend of the village rose spread across the land. A tale of a girl who left in search of riches but returned with something far greater: wisdom, courage, and a heart full of love for her people. The village rose and her journey beyond the shadows. After the merchant's defeat, Malaika's life in the village continued to flourish, but her heart was not entirely at peace. Despite the public victory, there was a quiet ache inside her. The merchant had tried to rob her of more than her freedom. He had attempted to steal her identity, her sense of self. She knew the scars of that experience would take time to heal. As the seasons changed, Malaika threw herself even deeper into her work with the village girls, seeing their growth as her own. But there were moments, late at night, when she would sit beneath the stars and think about the woman she once was, the girl full of dreams and the promise of a glittering future. Now she was an entirely different person, a leader, a teacher, and a healer. But could she still dream? Could she still long for something more than what she had? One evening, as Malaika stood by the river, watching the water flow freely, a familiar voice called her name. "Malaika!" Turning, she saw the face of an old friend, Mosi, a boy she had grown up with in the village. He had left years ago to become a trader in the city, a life much like the merchant's. But unlike the merchant, Mosi had always been kind-hearted. "I've heard of your school," Mosi said, his voice full of admiration. "I've seen the way the girls look at you. They see something in you that you may not see in yourself." Malaika smiled softly. "I've only tried to help them see their worth," she replied. "But what about you, Mosi? Why have you come back?" Mosi hesitated before answering. "I've seen many things in the city. The wealth, the power, but none of it gave me peace. It was all shadows, Malaika. I've learned that wealth is hollow if it isn't rooted in something true. And I want to help rebuild this village. I want to help you." Malaika was silent for a moment, the weight of his words sinking in. She had long known that the city's promise of grandeur was a lie, but hearing it from someone she knew well made her realize just how much her own journey had shaped her. "You've come back to the right place, Mosi," she said at last. "But the work here is not easy. We have much to do, teaching the girls, mending the brokenness caused by those who seek only their own gain, and protecting the heart of our village from the shadows of greed that still lurk beyond these hills." Building a legacy. In the months that followed, Mosi stayed in the village and worked side by side with Malaika. Together they built a strong foundation for the school. They also began to teach the young boys of the village, encouraging them to support the women in their education and dreams. MALAIKA had always believed that true progress could only happen when both genders stood together, each playing a role in lifting the other. Through her teachings, the girls began to grow into powerful women, smart, independent, and fearless. They learned to trade fairly, farm efficiently, and read the signs of the earth and the sky. MALAIKA's legacy was taking root, but with it came new challenges. The village's prosperity began to draw attention, both good and bad. One fateful day, a group of wealthy merchants from the city arrived, hoping to negotiate trade deals with the village. They spoke of riches, of gold, and of connections. MALAIKA felt a sense of unease. She had seen how greed could poison even the purest hearts. But Mosi, now a trusted ally, stood firm beside her. "We must be careful," he warned. "The city may come with promises, but those promises often come with a price." At first, the village elders were swayed by the promises of wealth, eager to bring prosperity to their people. But MALAIKA, with Mosi's help, shared her story, the true story of how the city had once swallowed her whole, only to spit her out like dust. "We must build our future with integrity, not with gold that can be stolen away," she said. The merchant scoffed at her words, but MALAIKA was unwavering. The village chose to remain independent, and in the end, the merchants left without a deal. Love and peace, yet restlessness remains. As time passed, MALAIKA grew to understand the deep connection she had with Mosi. Their work together had created a bond that was stronger than friendship. They shared dreams of expanding the school, of creating a network of villages where young people could come to learn the ways of the land, the arts, and the wisdom of their ancestors. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Mosi took MALAIKA's hand and asked, "Will you marry me, MALAIKA? Will you join me in building something greater, not just for us, but for the generations that will come after us?" MALAIKA gazed into his eyes, and for the first time in a long while, her heart felt at peace. She knew she had found someone who understood her, someone who saw the same world she saw, not through the lens of wealth or power, but through the lens of love and integrity. "I will marry you, Mosi," she whispered, her voice full of both joy and resolve. "But we will not just build a life together. We will build a legacy that will never fade, a legacy born of truth, wisdom, and the hearts of those who believe in the power of their own dreams." The village rose grows and the shadows fade. And so, MALAIKA and Mosi were married beneath the great baobab tree, surrounded by the people they had worked so hard to serve. The village celebrated not just their union, but the continued growth of their community. Together, MALAIKA and Mosi expanded the school, reaching neighboring villages and teaching people that wealth could not be measured in gold, but in the strength of one's character and the bonds of community. As the years passed, MALAIKA's name became a legend, a woman who had walked away from the city's false promises and returned to her roots, only to grow something far greater. Her story spread across the land, inspiring others to seek wisdom over riches, peace over power. But MALAIKA never stopped dreaming. She knew that though the shadows of the city had faded from her life, new challenges would always arise. Yet, she was ready, strong, wise, and ever faithful to the village that had given her a home. And so, MALAIKA's story continued, one of courage, wisdom, and the unshakable belief that the heart's true desires are found in the places where we are most ourselves, home, surrounded by the people who love us, and by the earth that nourishes us. And so to this day, under the shade of the great baobab tree, the elders tell her story to every child who listens, teaching them that no matter how far they wander, home will always be the place where their true strength lies. And so, the elders tell this tale to remind all who hear it. Do not be blinded by the glitter of the unknown, for sometimes the greatest treasures are in the place you call home.